One of Epstein's victims has just come forward to expose Ghislaine Maxwell's alleged connection to Hollywood. And at the center of it all is a name most people wouldn't expect: Ellen DeGeneres. Victim statements, Epstein's emails, and even his personal journal all point to deep ties between Epstein's operation and the entertainment industry. Ellen shut down her show the very same month Epstein's investigation gained momentum. And today, we may finally be getting a clearer picture of why. Epstein may have been the ringleader, but Ghislaine Maxwell was the engine behind his operation. Without her, Epstein never could have built what he built or done what he did. Several of his closest allies have confirmed that the only reason they ever engaged with Epstein in the first place was because of Ghislaine. She was born into a privileged British family, and she used that elite upbringing to insert herself into the most powerful social circles in America. But it wasn't just the wealthy and well-connected she was targeting. Victims have described being approached directly by Ghislaine in public spaces. One witness recalled riding in a car with her and watching her tell the driver to stop so she could dash across to a school or park, writing down her phone number for young girls. Days later, those same girls would show up at the house. Ghislaine would explain it away. "I found a model in the park. She's auditioning." But the witness noticed something was off. Some of those girls were wearing braces. She had never seen a model with braces. It was, of course, all a ruse. Epstein claimed to have connections to Victoria's Secret, and Maxwell played the role of his enthusiastic model scout. But as one witness, Maria, unknowingly observed, Maxwell was doing far more than scouting. She was actively procuring girls to satisfy Epstein's appetite for teenage and young women. On June 28, 2022, Ghislaine Maxwell was sentenced to 20 years in federal prison for sex trafficking-related crimes linked to Jeffrey Epstein. The sentence reflected her role in recruiting and grooming underage victims over roughly a decade. Hundreds of thousands of emails spanning 10 years, combined with victim statements and eyewitness accounts, confirmed that Ghislaine was working for Epstein and traveling the world in search of victims. Her method was consistent. She would approach young women and offer them money in exchange for giving a massage. One victim described meeting her at a spa, where Ghislaine struck up a warm conversation after noticing she was reading a book on massage therapy. She told the young woman she knew someone who could get her trained as a professional masseuse, that she could see the world and earn $200 per massage. No alarm bells went off, the victim recalled, because this was a well-spoken, proper English woman who seemed completely trustworthy. Coming from a woman, that level of manipulation was not just effective, it was critical to the entire operation. Virginia Giuffre, one of Epstein's most prominent and vocal victims, described how the same pattern played out for her and dozens of others. Find someone vulnerable. Offer them something simple and believable. Get them to the location. And then everything changes. Ghislaine wasn't standing on the sidelines once the victims arrived. At times, she actively participated. One victim recalled Ghislaine handing her lotions and oils, instructing her to take one half of Epstein's body while Ghislaine took the other. What started as what appeared to be a legitimate massage quickly turned into something else entirely. The victim described being asked to remove her clothing, remembering the small, heart-patterned underwear she was wearing, and recalling that Epstein and Ghislaine found that detail amusing because, to them, the younger the better. She was paid $200 and driven home. Both Epstein and Maxwell acted completely normal afterward, as though what had just occurred was entirely routine. These victims were not simply left to move on with their lives. They were threatened, stalked, and silenced. Both Virginia Giuffre and Maria Farmer recalled being told directly by Ghislaine that if they went to the authorities, they would be killed. Maria Farmer actually tested that warning. She went to the FBI in 1996 and told them everything. The response was nothing. Worse than nothing, someone informed Ghislaine that Maria had reported her. What followed was years of stalking and harassment that eventually forced Maria to abandon her art career and go into hiding. She was the very first person to officially report both Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell to law enforcement. And her complaint was buried. The threats against Maria escalated well beyond professional intimidation. They became threats on her life, warnings about being burned, about being shot in the back of the head, about being run off the road. She says there have been 4 or 5 close calls, involving not one car, but multiple. Epstein's network, she says, kept tabs on her for years, calling her numbers and tracking her down wherever she went. Virginia Giuffre's experience followed a similar and deeply troubling path. She was one of the first women to sue Epstein and submit physical evidence, including photographs connecting him to high-profile figures like Prince Andrew. She is largely credited as the reason Prince Andrew was ever brought into legal proceedings. In 2019, just weeks before the official release of the Epstein files, Virginia publicly disclosed that she was receiving threats warning her of what would happen if she continued speaking out. Shortly after, she announced she was writing a book about everyone she had encountered during her time on Epstein's island and aboard his private jet. Before the book could be released, she was struck by a truck. She survived, but allegedly died by suicide just days later. What made her death even more unsettling was what she had posted on social media shortly before it happened. She wrote publicly that she was not suicidal, that she had made this known to her therapist and her doctor, and that if anything happened to her, she needed her family to be protected and the story not to disappear. The timing of her death, right on the cusp of the Epstein document releases, left many deeply skeptical that it was what it appeared to be. Virginia Giuffre was widely considered the most credible living witness to what had taken place, and she died just as the world was about to see the names on that list. In 2022, just months after Ghislaine Maxwell began her federal prison sentence, Ellen DeGeneres abruptly announced she was ending her long-running and wildly successful talk show and stepping away from show business entirely. Reports began circulating online suggesting the real reason for her sudden exit was her alleged connection to Epstein and claims that she had provided information to law enforcement about his network. Months after her show ended, both her executive producer and a former girlfriend died under circumstances that many found difficult to accept at face value. Court documents from Maxwell's case and emails from the Epstein files have alleged that Maxwell reached agreements with as many as 25 different celebrities to keep them quiet. According to a newly filed court document, Maxwell claimed that 25 associates of Epstein had been shielded under secret settlements that were never disclosed during her trial, settlements that, if they exist, the public may never have access to. Critics of Ellen point to the timing of her exit, coinciding almost precisely with Maxwell's deposition, as something that deserves scrutiny. Some observers have also drawn attention to specific moments from Ellen's show that, in hindsight, they find disturbing. In one episode with Sandra Bullock, the two openly discussed a skincare treatment involving extracts taken from a young person's skin. The exchange was framed as lighthearted banter, but in light of everything that has since emerged about Epstein's circle, many viewers have revisited that clip with very different eyes. Others have pointed to an episode where Ellen showed a censored version of Justin Bieber's leaked private images on air and made jokes about his body while he sat next to her, at a time when Bieber was just 20 years old and Ellen was nearing 55. The segment resurfaced as part of a broader pattern of behavior that critics say became increasingly difficult to explain away. Do you believe Ellen's sudden departure from Hollywood was just a coincidence? Or do you think there's something deeper here that powerful people are still working to keep hidden? Drop your thoughts in the comments below, because this story is not getting simpler, it is getting darker. And if you want to stay on top of where it goes next, make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you don't miss what's coming.